Okay, I just found this on Steam again. It's the greatest game ever. And by just, I mean a little while ago because I've been kind of addicted to going through this. So I've got all the fish unlocked. Well, the pets, rather. The fish are level by level. But, yeah. So which ones do you go with is the question. Stinky is a really obvious choice. He's going to collect coins on the bottom of the tank, which is helpful, but you got to pair him with some other things. You're going to need one of these two regardless once you're playing, because Clyde's going to drift around and collect coins. Clyde's really good if you're not also employing Seymour, who's going to slow everything down, because Clyde will just bump into stuff all over the place. Where Stinky, if you don't have Seymour, the coins disappear too fast. He's kind of a waste. He's the first pet you get, so you're going to use him for a while regardless, but he can be a real pain. Nico, you're pretty much going to stop using him as soon as you have other things that are better. He's just going to give you money, but it's not that much in the grand scheme. In the short term, it's kind of handy. Lets you buy a couple extra fish early. Itchy, somewhat helpful, especially if you're not paying any attention to what's going on, but really your gun's going to do most of the work anyway, so it's okay. It's just not, I mean, it's a placeholder. Prego, you're going to get some more fish without having to pay for them, but again, it's not, you're not getting them fast enough for it really to matter. I guess if you pair this with a piranha tank, it'll be nice because then you've got some, you've got a free source of food for your piranhas, but even then, she's not going to be putting that many out. Zorf is fantastic for early on because then you don't have to waste any of your money buying food, and you don't waste your time with the little pellets. You can just go straight to the upgraded pellet from Zorf, which is handy. Your fish grow a little faster, they stay full a little longer. I use him a lot until you get to some of the later pets, so he's very useful. Talked a little bit about Clyde. Don't recommend Clyde. Pointless, just really pointless. Vert is super not worth your time and energy. Rufus, you can run enemies into him. Again, things that attack your enemies are not super helpful. Even later on when the enemies get tougher, you get multiples, you're trying to juggle them down into this thing, and you end up making more mistakes than you would just not having it, so I don't recommend them. Meryl can be pretty handy, especially if you paired Meryl with Stinky and Seymour, because then you've got slower moving coins and you get a whole bunch of them whenever she sings. And if you've got Seymour to pick them up once you get a very full tank, because obviously once she's useful, you've got so many fish in the tank you can't click fast enough to get them all anyway. So it's really a pairing with her. Otherwise she's just kind of a novelty until you get to Seymour. Wadsworth, again, I guess he's okay. He's really just a placeholder for a later fish. He will protect your fish, but once you're good enough at managing aliens, he's pointless anyway. Seymour's the first really great pet you get. It slows everything down as it falls, but the real advantage isn't just the slowdown, it's the fact that then they stay a lot longer at the bottom of that tank. So Stinky and Seymour paired together are great, and it kind of frees you up to get a different pet. Shrapnel, I have never used this fish. He drops bombs, and it'll blow a fish up, but it'll give you a lot of cash if you get it. Again, in the short term, in the early, 5-10 minutes of any level, these are helpful, but once you have 30 or 40 fish in the tank, anything like this becomes almost worthless. Half the time you're not going to see that bomb, you're just going to kill your fish. Gumbo, I use Gumbo clear through to the end until you get Presto. Gumbo will pull the fish away from the aliens, so you can, or the monsters, whatever. But Gumbo Gumbo will pull, he's basically just leading them away. If you do it wrong, because the logic of Gumbo is kind of stupidly programmed, if you get the aliens towards the center of the tank, he will tend to go towards the center of the tank, because until you're off in one of the 4 quadrants, however the logic's written in this game, it kind of makes him go to the center too, and you end up crossing paths, and you'll roll an alien right over all your fish. He'll eat them all, and you'll lose, which is kind of a pain. So you got to keep that in mind. But I use Gumbo all the time. Blip provides you with info. So if you don't know what's going on, or you forget to feed your fish, and you don't understand what the aliens are, it's helpful. But with the internet, Blip is kind of pointless. You can just look up what you want to find, and you're good. So I would not recommend Blip. And honestly, if you need reminded to feed your fish, you're early enough that it's not going to hurt you if you lose 1 or 2, so not worth your time. Rhubarb snaps his claws at the fish, keeping them off the bottom of the tank. So it can be kind of helpful if you've got aliens that are primarily bottom roamers. And if you, I don't know, it's not that helpful. It's somewhat pointless. So rhubarb is I mean, maybe, I don't know, I don't know what kind of use case you'd have for him. I guess the coins would fall longer, but if you've got Seymour and Stinky, which are going to be 2 you're going to have almost all the time anyway, it's kind of pointless. Same goes for Nimbus, because Nimbus is just throwing things back up in the air to give you more time to click on it. But with the way this game works, you reach kind of like a critical mass with fish, where it's more beneficial just to keep feeding them and let your coin collectors pick it up. So Nimbus is not, I mean, you're never going to click that fast, so I don't see the point in him. Amp, on some of the challenges where you're trying to get the most money possible, and you can use Amp, right at the end, right as the time's winding down, and then you kill all your fish, collect all the diamonds. That's about the only time I find Amp useful. Other than that, he can be a real pain. In some of the 4 levels where you've got the Prego fishes, instead of buying fishes, you're buying fish that produce fish, and you can end up with constantly dying fish because there's just too many. He can be somewhat helpful, but he's usually just a pain. Gash, again, you don't really need it, just buy upgrades. Angie is just buy more fish. You don't need to resurrect fish, they're cheap. Presto is the most important pet, because it will allow you to get Stinky and Seymour, and then you can take Presto and in the beginning of a game turn him into Zorf, let him stay with Zorf till you can upgrade your food to where you need it. Then depending on the tank, you can turn him into Amp, so you can blow your fish up and get him back. You can flip him over to Meryl, and then get a ton more coins once you get enough fish in the tank. If you're having problems producing, you can flip him to Prego, and then he has a very short cooldown time, and you can just keep flipping him to other things, as long as you make sure that he's ready to change when you're about to get attacked. Always turn him into Gumbo and you're good to go. So that's an overview.